Awesome. Okay, today is February 22nd. This is the meeting of the Westwood Recreation Commission. It is being recorded by Westwood Media Center and will be available for playback on their YouTube channel. So calling the meeting to order. And the first agenda item is public comment, and I understand we do have public comment today. So looks like Kelly.
Kelly's one of
Kelly. Oh, this is our Kelly. Oh,
yeah,
we haven't admitted. I thought we.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, sorry.
Hi,
I thought we
sorry.
had admitted public comment yet. No?
So it looks like we have 3 or 4 folks in the
How do I not
room.
see them?
I'll call it the waiting room. I don't know if that's the proper term. One of the names I recognize is a gentleman that I have spoken to over the past month or two about pickleball, and he indicated that he would be calling in today to talk to you about pickleball. So
Oh, I can't see any of the names. I can only see us. That's why I'm sorry, Kelly. That's why I thought it must be you.
So
I don't know who we have. So I guess if someone wants to introduce themselves, or
yeah, Connor, if I could ask you to unmute Alex Yale. Sure. Is the individual that I've been speaking to.
So and Alex, you should see a notification pop up that you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Yale. I'm at 22 Hedgerow Lane here in Westwood, and I've been working or talking to Rich for a few months about getting pickleball facilities in town. I'm joined by, I can't see who's in the waiting room or who's around, but I'm joined by a handful of other people who also play pickleball in town. But the request that I'd like to bring before the committee tonight is the potential to add pickleball striping to the existing tennis courts at the Downey Elementary School. So just for a little bit of context, I think people know there's 2 courts there at Downey, 2 tennis courts. Rich and I met there and spoke about the possibility of getting pickleball lines striped, overlaid on those tennis courts. Essentially, there's many ways to do it, but you can easily put 2 pickleball courts on each side of a tennis net. So in place of or in the same place where there are 2 tennis courts, you could have 4 pickleball courts, 2 on each individual tennis court. That would require either the town to supply a portable net or for the players to bring their own nets to be able to play pickleball in town. I understand that the long-term, hopeful, permanent pickleball solution is more dependent on the elementary school site plan. So that might be quite a ways off. So we're hoping and looking for the commission to be able to provide even this temporary solution at the Downey courts, which will allow people in town to play. So I'll pause there. I'm happy to answer any questions or go into any more detail.
Alex, this is Ann Delaney. Do you know? Okay, so I don't play pickleball. I'm actually really interested in learning, but I don't know what the lines would they be confusing for the tennis, too distracting, or how does that work?
I guess that's a personal matter. A number of us who are on the call play at the Wimbledon 109 facility, especially in the winter for obvious reasons. And at that facility, the pickleball, there are several of the courts that do have these lines striped in the same fashion that I envision at Downey. And we don't have an issue playing pickleball, and I assume the same is for tennis players.
Yeah, so those are courts where they do play tennis then?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Alex, it's Rich. One question I have, on the courts that you play where they're lined for multiple purposes, are the lines a different color, for instance, yellow as opposed to white or something like that?
They are, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's probably a variety of different color schemes, but where we play, tennis court lines are white and these are yellow, so you can clearly distinguish between the 2 different sets of lines.
Okay, great.
Do others have questions? Paul, you look like you want to say something.
You're muted, Paul.
You're muted.
I just have a comment that there are, Alex. I'm glad that you have the interest, and it's definitely a growing sport. There's a lot of folks in the neighborhood where I live that actually set up a pickleball court, in the street, and you have to move the net, and they've been looking for a place to play as well. So They're always asking me to, as a matter of fact, when Nicole was running the show here, Nicole Banks, when she was the head of the commission, I did mention that a couple of times to her, but again, did get pushed off. So this is interesting, Alex. I'm glad you're bringing it up. I can pass that information on, and I guess as a commission, do we know what steps that we want to take to address Alex's?
Well, I think we would talk about it at the end of the public comment, right?
Very good.
So, Alex, if you don't have anything additional to say, or no one has an additional questions, perhaps we could let in the next participant, Connor, and hear from the next participant.
Sure. Is that Jason? So,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Yep.
Oh, so apologies for not having my video on. I'm actually just picked up my daughter from dance class, and I'm driving back home. So I don't have a whole lot of substantive comments to add. I'm here to really show support.
Excuse me,
I am also an
Jason,
avid-
could you just please, for the record, identify your full name and address, please?
Of course, my name is Jason Denmark. I live at 53 Highview Street in Westwood, obviously. And really just wanted to echo Alex's sentiment. It is, I believe, the fastest growing sport nationwide today, according to a recent article that I read, and it's certainly attracting a lot of different players. I know in Medfield, a very large facility just opened at Kingsbury, and there's very high demand. It's actually they fill up the courts regularly. And attract players from all over the greater Boston area. So obviously, it'd be great to have the outdoor recreation opportunity to play in our hometown, given the very sizable interest that the game is attracting. And so I just wanted to add my support to what Alex's comments were. That's all I had. But obviously, if there's any questions for me as well, happy to entertain those.
Jason or Alex, do either of you know people that would be qualified or willing to put on clinics through the recreation department?
I don't. I know some pretty experienced players who maybe would be interested, but I don't know any like official instructors. There are pros at the Kingsbury Club that Jason mentioned in Medfield where we play as well. So I'm sure they maybe could source some names if that was of interest.
That would be. Thanks,
Yeah.
Alex.
As I said, I'm interested in learning.
Me too.
Come out, we'll teach you.
All you need is a place to play in Westwood, it sounds.
Ian, I think, Jason that does the tennis?
Yeah.
Rich, I think he's familiar with pickleball.
Oh,
Has
good.
anyone spoke to him about it?
I don't. Kelly's with us. Maybe she knows. I don't know if she has or not.
What was the question?
Have you talked to Jason at all about pickleball and offering pickleball lessons?
Not too much. I know he doesn't play, so I don't know that that's something he would be interested in doing himself. But I know he's aware of the strong interest in pickleball.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Rich, have you told the people that are calling in that we do have a plan for pickleball courts?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's a longer term plan, and these folks are looking for a more
Immediate.
Thank you. A more immediate solution. Yeah.
Yeah. Do any towns, local towns, Norwood, they mentioned Medfield, Walpole, have pickleball courts?
Yes, Norwood has dedicated pickleball courts, outdoor pickleball courts. They're quite nice.
Where are those?
They're at the Savage Rec Center. I think it used to be a school.
Do they have any restrictions on whether players from Westwood can play there?
I don't believe there's anything posted there, but I assume that it's intended for Norwood residents. I think we've been asked once or twice if we live in Norwood. Luckily, somebody we do play with does live there, so it sort of worked out. But
Okay.
I know Millis High School. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Millis High School also has courts outdoors, and I don't know if there are any residency restrictions.
Do anyone have other questions for Jason or Alex, or should we let in the next participant? Connor, who's next?
Next will be Kyle Dow.
Kyle?
Kyle, you should be able to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'm just here in support of Alex as well. Not much more to add here. I think it's been well
Kyle,
said.
I'm sorry, Kyle, could you please identify your full name and address, please?
Kyle Dow, 29 Hedgerow Lane.
Thank you.
And as I was saying, not much more to add. I think it's been covered pretty well by Alex and Jason at this point.
Thank you, Kyle.
Connor, are there others?
There are two more people. Next will be Nick Mann.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
we can. Can you
hear me? Okay,
Yes.
great. My name is Nick Mann, 28 Pheasant Hill Street, and same as Kyle, just here to support the guys. And there's a great deal of us that play, but I feel like it's already been stated pretty well.
And
Thank you.
last will be Peter.
Yeah, Peter Lutz, 132 Church Street. Like everybody else, here to support the idea of getting pickleball lines on their numbers that enjoy playing. Great community sport. So Ann, Joyce, anyone that wants to learn, come on out and we'll teach you.
All right.
PJ's dad.
Yeah. Hey, Coach Phillips.
How you doing?
Okay,
Coach
well,
Phillips, I'm Jonas's dad. I don't know if you remember Jonas.
Yep, I do.
is there anyone who here whose kids didn't have any lessons with Coach Phillips?
That's terrific. All right, so it sounds like we've heard that. I don't believe, Connor, that there's anyone else in the waiting room.
No, there is nobody else in the waiting room.
Okay. So if the commission would like, I could tell you a little bit of the work that I've done since talking with Alex to try to research the feasibility of this. So I reached out to the individual who resurfaced those courts a couple of years ago, the company that did it, to get an understanding of what the cost would be to add additional lines. And it's about $350 per court. Could someone please mute? Thank you.
So would that give us two courts on each side of the net for $350?
We would be able to, so if we were to do 4 courts, it would cost $1,400.
Okay.
So it's $350
per court.
Right. So per pickleball court, so you'd get 2 on each court, so 4 total over.
So it's 1 on one side of the net, 1 on the other side of the net.
Correct.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, and Alex and I were there the other day in a foot of snow trying to measure the courts, it was a blast. I think that it's like something like 39 feet from the net to the end line on the tennis court, and we have another 25 feet to the fence, and they need. Alex, help me if you're still available to speak.
Yep, the pickleball length is 44 feet.
44 feet. So we have more than ample space on each side of the net to put a court there. Okay.
How many tennis courts, pickleball courts can we get on, say, on the 3 court side, per side?
Well, we would do it at Downey, Mitch. So we would be able to put a total of 4.
Because there's 2 courts, 2 tennis courts over there.
Right. There's 2 tennis courts at Downey.
4. Okay.
Right. So we could put up to 4, which would cost for the lines only approximately $1,400. I happened to, just out of the blue, just the other day, get an email from a sporting goods company, and they were advertising pickleball nets for like $250 each.
Joyce, did you have a question? I think you were trying to ask Rich a question.
I'm just trying to ask the setup. Would the tennis net be dividing the 2 courts? Do they play the other way?
Yeah, so the tennis net would not be involved at all. The temporary net that we would use would run parallel to the tennis net.
Parallel. I would assume it was
Oh.
perpendicular.
Yeah, it's
Perpendicular.
parallel.
Huh.
Hey, Rich, just a point.
When you run into the, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I think that you don't want to take both courts out at the Downey. There are people up there who use those courts, residents in that area.
Yep.
And it's quite a hike, especially around dinner time with the traffic once we get back to normal.
Yeah.
You really want to start with 2 pickleball courts.
Yeah.
That should be the feasibility. That's my input. Not to go, because whenever we start messing with tennis courts, remember, well, I don't know who was on the board. Elizabeth knows. Once you start messing with tennis courts,
Yeah.
people will come out of the woodwork, like at Morrison Park. I mean, we had a lot of issues in Morrison Park, and there's no tennis court at Morrison Park now. But we
Just to
built
be
a new
clear,
one.
this actually wouldn't disrupt any tennis playing. This would be lines striped over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the tennis courts would remain, the tennis striping would remain, the tennis nets that are permanent would remain. This would simply just be putting down lines for people to either bring their own nets, or if there wanted to be nets that will be stored there for use. I mean, these are, constructed and set up in 5 minutes, so they're pretty lightweight and easy. So so anybody, two parties could play tennis there, or 4 parties could play pickleball there. There would be no sacrifices made.
So we would have to get a storage facility there
Yep,
to keep the nets in,
that's right.
and
Gain access.
so
Who's
we
gonna gain
wouldn't take
access?
down the tennis net.
No, they would remain in place.
Okay. So that's great. I like that idea.
And have you costed out the nets and what did you say the nets were? They were pretty cheap, you were saying?
Like I said, I haven't done as much research on the nets. I just happened to get an email, and it was like $2 or $2.50 per net. But I don't know to the extent that's the right net or the right quality. I just happened to get a spam email, if you will, that pickleball nets, that the removable temporary type nets, not obviously the permanent ones if you were to build dedicated courts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I just purchased one for about $150, so there's probably a range, but
right.
But yeah, they're affordable.
Yeah.
So there would be an issue with those nets because somebody would have to be able to get in to the storage facility. There'd have to be a combo or something, combo lock, because you couldn't leave it open. Trust me.
Right.
And people, when they finish, depending on the degree of responsibility, would have to put it away. Because if people came along to play tennis, well, maybe we could leave 2 up all the time. No, you couldn't leave them up because they're portable. They'll
People want to play tennis.
Right.
Yeah, Coach Phillips, Peter Lutz here. I guess we're advocating simply for lines. If it's not going to be a permanent net.
All right. That sounds great.
I wouldn't invest as the department in a net because people won't take care of it. I mean, again, we're passionate enough, $150, $200 in the 20 guys that we play with. I think we have 4 nets.
Okay. So no nets, Rich.
Wonderful. And we leave it at that.
Yep.
So get out your paint, get out the paintbrush, Rich.
Yeah, I'll get out the checkbook. Yeah.
Hey guys, hi Peter. This is Paul Tusseri. How are you?
Hey, Paul.
So this is good. So 20 folks. Is that about the size of your group? 20 people, I heard you say.
Yeah, we have a text group of 20 guys, and then there's probably about 6 or 8 additional guys that all play in town.
That's a good following.
That's me and Joyce now.
We're up to 30.
That's great.
Well, and it's such a fun sport for all ages. It's just, I think when you start talking about it, people think Florida retirements, but really a sport for all ages. And, we just started playing passionately this summer, and it's been wonderful. It's a really good thing for the community to offer, where we have to go to Norwood now to find outdoor courts. It'd be wonderful if we could stay in town.
Or you could come down to Steve Vonneren's house over on Church Street. And,
I know the
play
street
there.
setup, and then there's one around the corner as well.
Yeah.
We could stay in the street if we have to.
Yeah. Don't want to do that. That's
All right.
Well, thank you.
I have one question. How you guys feel about Westwood residents only? Well, you'd have to be because you guys have the nets. Not a
They
problem.
also have Norwood people in their group.
Oh, they do.
At least one.
We have a couple like surrounding towns, random people. I mean, again, currently we have nothing in town. If we had to settle, so to speak, for Westwood residents only, we'll take what we can get.
I'm just asking you how you feel about that, because if this thing is growing as fast as we all think it is, then, it's just going to create, there's not a lot of nets around, and so it's going to create a logjam.
I feel fine about that. I just think enforcement's the hard thing there because.
No, we struggle with that every day. I mean, they just plowed the football field like a week ago, and I was down there a week ago Saturday, and I saw 30 cars in the parking lot. You couldn't see the field because of the snow piles. I went over there, and Jesus, we had a adult soccer tournament going on.
Yeah, Bob,
Let's keep on point, please.
I'm just saying we struggle with the enforcement as well.
Yeah, and I think that could be a problem too. I know I asked about Norwood, but I think it could be a problem if we tried to enforce a Westwood only.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
I agree.
Just like Norwood would ask them if anyone lives in Norwood, I think we could leave it at that here in Westwood.
Do we have anything else to talk about on this subject, or do we want to, I guess it's a recorded meeting, so it's not like we would say end of public comment and talk about it on our own, right? Because anything we talk about is public regardless, right? So should we talk about what we think the feasibility of this is? Is that allowed,
sorry,
Rich?
let me just speak. I think this is a good idea, but I wasn't aware we're even discussing this today. I know I was a couple minutes late.
Public comment.
It's public comment,
okay.
Mitch.
No, I
So
get that.
what I
Were
would
we
recommend
aware?
is-
But clearly, there's a number of people here, and that's great. But were we aware that this was just thrown at us today, or literally at 7 o'clock? People
No.
are lined up to talk, or did they discuss it with you first?
So Mitch, Alex suggested that he might attend this meeting to talk about it. So, yes.
And that's absolutely fine.
We don't know someone's gonna show up until they do, and they showed up to talk about it. So what I suggest we do is we put this on the agenda next time to discuss in detail. I'll have more information. And then if you'd like, you can vote then to proceed with this project or not.
Okay.
That would be my recommendation. But again, if you like to.
Chris, are you going to general contract this thing?
No.
Oh.
All right, so we'll talk about it. We'll have it on the agenda for March. Okay. And this is a project that could be done pretty quickly anyway, right?
I think so. Yeah, we just need to.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh, did I jinx something?
Well, I mean, nothing's that easy.
I guess, yeah. Everyone wants to do outdoor stuff, right?
No,
There's going to be
nothing's that easy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that was public comment. So moving on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they wish to remove or add to the consent agenda? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve it.
Thank you, Bob. And second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Joyce. Okay, so the minutes from January 25th. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes or make a motion to approve? And they start on page 3. No comments. Does someone want to make a motion to approve them? Paul, and second, Mitch?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. So now the January, I'm sorry?
All those in favor?
Oh, sorry, all those in favor. I'm bad at this.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I think everyone raised their hand. And so no one opposed? Okay, they're approved. I guess I forgot to do that with consent agenda as well. Thank you, Bob. So the January report. Rich?
Yeah, sure, the monthly report. So a couple highlights. This has been on here for the Wentworth Hall project has been on this as I've been attending meetings, Nicole, before me. An update that I can give you there I think is important. So I attended a meeting last week. The basement, as you know, is going to be community space that's going to more or less replace the space that we used at the ICC. For a time, there was concern that there might not be budget to complete that space, which would have been bad for us. That money is now in, and the basement will be completed. And they are on schedule at this point to be completed by July.
Oh,
which is great. So the space is quite large. It's larger than I anticipated, to be truthful. There's going to be a big room that has a divider in the middle. The room, when it's undivided, holds up to 150 people. And so it'll be divided in half. There'll be two rooms, basically large rooms that hold 75 people each, as well as a conference room that holds 8 to 10. So effectively, there's 3 spaces down there that are usable for programming.
And do we have unlimited access to that space? Or are we competing with other organizations?
We have first priority on the space.
Okay.
Okay. So it's very rare that we would be running 2 programs at the same time down there. So more than likely, there'll never be a situation where we'll be contending for space. And
Rich, where is it? I don't even know where this is going to be. Where is it?
In Islington. Have you been down to Islington?
Oh, I know where Islington is. Which building? Yeah.
It's sort of across from where CVS is, across the parking lot from CVS.
Kind of where the old library and the old CVS
Yeah, okay.
were?
So right beside the old.
Yeah, you can. The building is being. You can sort of see it right now.
Okay.
Coming out of the ground.
So it's in basically the same parking lot as the old ICC.
No, across the street.
Oh, so it's on the same side of the street as CVS?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Then I'm not picturing it in the same spot. Okay.
I don't think so. On the CVS side, there's a parking lot there, the CVS.
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
It's across the street. So it's using the same parking lot that the ICC used.
Okay. So I can't answer that because I don't know. I'm confused now. But
okay.
There is a building. There is a building going up right next to the CVS, right on the other side of the parking lot.
So that might be it.
That's my understanding, but
that's it. It's been there. You can't miss it. It's been out of the ground for about 2 months now.
Yeah. So we're going to have some decent space. It's not going to be our space dedicated the way we had some space dedicated at the ICC, but there will be a large storage room, so we'll just have to move our stuff in and out and set up and break down after each program, whereas we used to be able to leave stuff set up, which I'm in effort. But the space is going to be real nice, and it's going to be quite big, and it should suit our needs well. So
this is a big difference from before. It was all negative, that it wasn't going to meet our needs. It was going to be smaller than what we had, and this is great.
It is, but it's compared to what we have now, it's decent sized space, and it's not as much space as we had before, but we're going to make it work. And I've scheduled. We can't go down there now; it's not ready. But I've scheduled a tour for it with the staff in May, and I'm supposed to be getting some floor plans so I can take a look at what the space is going to look like. I haven't received those yet, but I met with various other departments within the town that will be using the space last week to talk about how we're going to schedule it and what have you, and explain that our schedule is a seasonal thing. It's not something we put in on a yearly basis. So then we still have to meet to talk through some of the details, but those discussions have started, and it's going to be nice, brand new space, and I'm looking forward to seeing it and being able to use it the second half of this year. Yeah. So I just wanted to give you that update that that is taking a positive turn, in my opinion, over the past month or two. Whereas I think 3 or 4 months ago, I was fearful that we weren't even going to get the space at all in the first wave, but we are now, which is great news. So just as a follow-up to, and I'll get into this in a little bit more detail later, but over the month of January, I was in multiple meetings with the school department. Chris Coleman was there with me to talk and negotiate space for this summer. And we have this year, and this is definitive now, this year we will be running our summer camps out of Thurston, which is great because that gives us access to the pool. Unlike last year, we didn't have that because we were at Martha Jones. Of course, that also gives us access to all those fields, which we didn't have at Martha Jones as well, because the field space over there is very small. So we have a very robust amount of summer programming this year. As a result of that, the school was great to work with, and they've given us a lot of good space this summer. We also have some space over at Deerfield to run a few programs, and I can't remember if there was one other. I think that's it. So, so that was a highlight. Our winter programming started in January, and again, we continue to see very robust interest in outdoor programming. You know, to and including tennis. We're offering tennis lessons in January and February, and you know, obviously in years past we would never consider that, but there's for a 10-person class, there's 20 people on the wait list.
Wow.
It's huge. It's terrific, right? So we're happy that we've got our winter programming going. And then I can't remember if I brought this up last time, but I went, as a matter of fact, the whole team went in front of the select board a few weeks ago, and we have chosen September 25th as Westwood Day this year.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that before.
Yeah, so there's still a lot of work to be done for Westwood Day, of course, but a lot of unknowns with COVID and everything. But it takes 6 to 8 months to plan this thing, and if we don't get started now, reserving all the attractions and you know, all of the stages and chairs and things of that nature, we won't have time to do it if we wait until we know what the situation is going to be like with COVID in the fall. So we're going to plan this thing. I've already had some discussions with the director of public health, Jared Orsini, and he believes, especially with the vaccine coming online this spring, or this winter, that by the fall, we should be in a much better place to be able to offer Westwood Day. We'll probably have to make some concessions and some changes for social distancing, et cetera. And we'll work with him, you know, throughout the year to make sure we have those. But the feeling is that you know, Westwood Day is much more likely to happen this year than last year. So we're going to plan as if we can do it, and we'll make arrangements for, you know, safety and social distancing as we go through our plans. And, you know, as we get closer, like we did last year, we will, you know, make decisions as to what to do. Last year's decision to cancel had a lot to do with the fact that if we were even going to attempt to do it, we would have had to reconfigure everything starting in August after summer camp was over, and it was impossible. But you know, all of our summer plans are done. This year we're way ahead of where we were last year, because we didn't even know how we could run programming until June, because that's when the guidance was released. We're making plans for summer camp now based on that guidance that we already have. And so we're way ahead of the ball there, the curve. So anyway, we're excited to have that day in the calendar, and you know, we had our first Westwood Day meeting last week, and we'll be meeting monthly as throughout the rest of the winter and spring.
Rich, just curious. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please go, Mitch. Thank you.
I didn't mean to interrupt you for on a roll.
No,
It was just where is the outdoor tennis class being held?
At the high school tennis courts.
Probably not in the snow.
No,
Not when it's
so-
snowing.
so- Yeah, and we've had to cancel some and we've had to move it around and, but I'll tell you that the families that are participating are thrilled by it. So,
I'm sure. It's
Yeah.
been such a terrible year, to get anything for kids to do outside.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I saw on Facebook today, snowshoeing. You borrowed snowshoes from Watertown?
we did, yeah.
That looked
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah, Joe ran the class last week. Yeah. So,
Yeah, great.
Yep. yeah, that was a good one. They had a blast. They went over and did the in Lowell Woods. They started at Hanlon and went into Lowell Woods and back. It was yeah, they had a blast. It was very well received.
It's great.
And then just the other thing that now that the spring is starting, it's, like we're starting to maybe see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And so Kelly had received all of the schedules from the youth sports leagues and whatnot and created a tentative schedule. And we, in fact, actually had our fields meeting last week, which went well as well. So that has started. So
Great.
those are the highlights that I wanted to bring forth. If anybody has any questions about anything else on the report.
All right. Hearing no questions. Well, good luck, Kelly, with the field scheduling. That is not an easy task, especially in the spring.
No, not in the spring, but it'll be fine. Get through it.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly did an awesome job with the with that meeting. It was very well planned and took everybody through what's going on. There's an additional challenge with the fields this year because the high school, which of course has priority over the fields, their schedules are all mixed up and so
yeah,
that's
football's going on now.
Yeah, that's going to present a challenge that we haven't had to deal with in years past because of the all of their game schedules have changed and everything. So that's one more added challenge that we're contending with.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear the meeting went well. Go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
Okay, football is over on April 26th, I believe,
All right.
and then baseball starts.
Yep.
So once you get by April 26th, Rich, there shouldn't be any real problems.
Let's hope so.
Because you're gonna lose some time in the multi-purpose field.
Yeah.
But after
Yeah.
that, you won't
Well,
have.
there should only be the usual problems after that, right?
That's right. Yeah.
It's not no problems, just the
Right,
usual.
well,
Oh, it's April 25th.
Right.
April 25th, football ends, and April 26th, the spring sports begin, practices.
Right. And if, Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the youth sports would prefer to start mid-March, right?
Yeah, they start. They're starting their regular season and games in the beginning of April, the first week of April.
Right.
But they do preseason practicing mid-March if they can.
If the snow ever melts.
Right.
So
baseball's never been on the field in mid-March. Baseball's never been on the field in March, period.
Yeah, lacrosse and
20 years.
soccer are the ones
Yeah,
that
no,
can
it's
flip.
just, Bob, sorry, it's just the turf field. It's not.
Okay. Because you can't put anybody on the fields till the DPW opens the fields.
Right,
Yes,
yeah. Yeah, we're talking about soccer and lacrosse because they get kind of nutty about the field.
Right. So we're talking, the two the two.
Exactly, the turf.
So-
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. So what meeting was last week? Was the fields meeting, like people who are looking for permits and everything typically? Is that the meeting that
That's
took
right.
place?
That's right.
So
Yeah, youth sports.
So in the past, the Recreation Commission was invited to that meeting? Is there a reason?
Oh, they run the meeting, Paul.
Who ran the Recreation Commission?
Kelly.
Was
Oh, the
invited to
commission,
that
no.
meeting? Well, can I
We
finish?
usually
Let me-
invited. We're
can I
usually
finish?
invited to that.
Yeah, typically. So I'm just wondering
Oh.
why we weren't.
There was no intention there. I was not aware in the 3 years, this is the fourth year. I've no one from
Really?
the commission ever came and I didn't realize they were invited.
Okay.
I
If
thought
you'd like
Mitch
to be
was-
invited
I
next
thought-
year, Paul, happy to do so.
I thought we'd only jumped in when there was a problem and we were gonna help referee.
That was
Our
correct.
former chairman agreed to
Okay.
broker or mediate.
Right.
That's right.
Right, I do remember that, yeah.
But
Okay.
Right.
it looks like you guys are good.
Yeah, we didn't need mediation this year,
It's good.
thankfully.
I'll volunteer Paul if it needs to be done next year, though.
Don't worry, I'll be there.
Okay. So should we move on to member reports unless anyone had any other questions on the monthly report? So examples of time signage, Rich, I know you talked with Chris Coleman a bit about this, but we don't have Elizabeth. Is it worth talking about? I mean, this is mostly the tennis courts that we were.
So there's a couple things. So I'm happy to share with you what my conversation with Chris was, and my concern about one particular item on the proposed new signage was regarding Westwood residents, preference given to Westwood residents. And Chris shared the same concern that I have, that A, it's unenforceable, and B, if you try to enforce it, it could potentially lead to some conflicts. And if you just walk through, somebody shows up, the courts are filled, what are they going to do? Are they going to go around and start asking people on the court if they're Westwood residents? And if they happen to get an honest response, of course, most people are just going to say yes. But if they're not, and they happen to say no, I'm from another town, the fear would be that it could become confrontational. So there was not that much interest in putting that particular restriction on the signs when I was talking to Chris.
So so I don't think we were talking restrictions. We were talking many flags. We're talking about just putting something on the sign that says, Westwood residents have priority or are given priority.
Right, that priority is unenforceable, Bob, and any attempt to enforce it could, by the residents themselves or by the players themselves.
I'm not trying to enforce
Bob, please let me finish and then I'll let you speak, okay? And the concern is that any attempt by one player to confront another player over residency could lead to some type of confrontation, which could get ugly. And so the feeling is that statement should not go on the sign.
Okay.
And that was Chris's opinion.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
That's his opinion, right?
Yep.
Now, had we talked about like a time restriction? If the courts are full, please limit your play to 30 minutes, like that.
Or an hour, I think, is what the suggestion was. Yeah.
After someone shows up. But so Rich, you're not able to share those pictures I sent you at all?
Something, Paul, my afternoon just exploded, and I will share them.
Yeah, so that's okay. So let me just, so I
you want to tell us what was?
Yeah, so I took a ride around the yesterday, believe it or not, over in Needham, and most of the there's a lot of signs. Every sign, every sporting section has something about we are not sanitizing this area, something about COVID. You are required to maintain distances, and Rich has those. But it was specific about, distances, that we are not cleaning it. We are not responsible. You're responsible to do that. So that's something that you might want to think about in signage. The other thing was there were no, of all the 5 places I went to, none of them, except for one tennis court, had something about, this is for the town. Like most of the signs were, this is the town of Needham. It's managed by the Needham Recreation Department. Nothing about restrictions were in those signs, with the exception of the tennis court at the high school, where they mentioned the fact that that badges would be issued, and you had to have your badge every time you played tennis on the court, or you could something to the effect that you had to have a badge, and that's how you get you. I'm assuming that's how they enforce it. Like if the person's not wearing the badge on their arm, then
Is that Needham?
That's in Needham. Yeah.
Needham has badge system. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that was about it really. Other than, like this, like a couple of the places had a sign where, this was, by the Needham, Needham Historical Society sponsored this thing or something. There was a sign up for them. John Cusick baseball field. There was a sign up for them. And that was pretty much it. There was no restrictions, no rules, regulations.
Well, the ban was a big restriction, Paul.
Other than that on tennis court,
At the
yeah.
high school tennis courts, I mean, that's a big restriction.
That's the only one I said, yeah,
Okay.
that's it. But all the other ones, all the other fields had nothing.
So Elizabeth, I don't know if you heard
Yeah, I've
Rich's
been,
comments.
I've just been allowed in. I've been on since 7:10, and I've been in I could hear you, but no one could see or hear me.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
so whoever's the host, they just let me in.
Yep, sorry about that.
Welcome.
I thought the name's
Welcome,
Nick
Elizabeth.
Phillips, so I thought it
Thank
was
you.
Bob on a different account.
No problem.
Oh, I didn't think of that because it doesn't say Elizabeth. Oh, that's unfortunate. Was there anything you want to add to any of the discussion that you heard but weren't able to participate in?
Keep going.
Okay. All right. So where does that leave us then? So we have Chris saying really not enforceable. It probably isn't enforceable. We have one town with a badge system. I'm assuming we're not deciding to do a badge system for the tennis courts, but we had other examples of language you wanted to have on the signs, you know, how long you can play when the courts are full or whatnot.
Yep.
What are the next steps here? Because this has been on the agenda several times. We probably want to decide and move on, right?
I mean, there are signs on the tennis courts right now, on the high school tennis courts. And I mean, they're pretty worn out. So I think the goal was to, to modify them to make sure that they're on the tennis courts down at Downey, because they're not on Downey courts.
Right.
And, just.
So do we want to take what we have now and put it on Downey, or do we want to add some COVID restrictions or some time restrictions, or?
I think there might even be time restrictions, if I can remember, like if, you can't just, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I'm so sorry.
I have it in front of me, Elizabeth.
I'd have to take a picture. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what you gave me was to suggest limit 1 hour playing if others are waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a.
That's reasonable,
that's
right?
kind of
Yeah,
a
I'd say it's more than
standard.
reasonable. I was going to say 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 30 minutes. I mean, it's hard to tell when somebody gets on, so you get on for 30 minutes and now there's somebody else waiting. I mean, you just got on 5 minutes ago, so, I mean, people are usually pretty courteous up there, pretty courteous with that. But sometimes they're not, because they just get on and you could wait for an hour. I mean, during the summer, many people went to Medfield or Walpole or Norwood if the courts were booked, if the courts were full.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw.
Elizabeth, what is a typical playing time for
an hour?
Yeah, I mean, so a match typically, is like an hour and a half. Practice is an hour and a half. I mean, most people are playing hour and a half.
Yeah,
that's what they're usually playing.
All right, so maybe an hour is more reasonable then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've seen people move in there at night with coolers and everything. They bring chairs in, coolers in.
No coolers or chairs on the tennis
Well,
court.
I'm just saying,
they
do.
They bring it
stay for the night.
Yeah, they'll come for there's definitely a few who are, staying there for a few hours because multiple people are coming, and I've seen chairs, I've seen coolers, yeah. So
maybe
that gets a little contentious.
Yeah, so maybe you ought to have something on the sign that says, please limit your playing time to 1 hour when there is a waiting line.
When others are waiting, yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Yep, I like that. So we'll do that. Make that recommendation then.
Sure.
Everyone in favor of that, and put it on the Downey as well.
Yeah, there's a bigger issue though. We were still talking about the fields too.
So
also, yeah, keep
going. I mean, I didn't even bring it up. About 3 or 4 meetings ago, somebody started talking about the fields, how we're being overrun.
You mean people using the field that weren't permitted?
Yeah, organized groups using the fields that aren't permitted. Some people are upset with this, and there's a little banter around town about it. So, and that's gotten back to the select board. And I think, so you talked to Chris about this recently, Rich?
Well, I guess I'm not in the loop on this.
Not about the fields. I was talking about
because I know that
signage for the tennis courts.
Yeah, there's a backdrop to this around town that we got a lot of organized groups coming in without permits. I was unaware of it, really, till I heard something about it.
This is a separate issue. We're talking about signage. You're not talking
Yeah,
about
for
use of
field.
outside
Yeah.
fields.
So I'm just jumping. We can jump off the tennis courts and both.
So you're,
I mean, are we finished with the tennis courts?
Yeah.
I mean, Paul was talking and we've like really, we've taken over his time. So
Right.
let's ask
That's
Paul
okay.
if
That's
he's
all right.
finished.
That's all right. So, I mean, there's a lot of good ideas and you know, I mean, I could share my screen and show you the signage. I don't know if people have time to do this, or if we want to spend time on doing this, but I don't know what you want to do. How you
I mean,
want to do
let's see an example of some signage. I'd be curious
Yeah.
to see what.
and Bob, we can add your agenda item to agenda 6, items not reasonably anticipated, and you can tell us what you've heard.
Yeah.
So let me see.
Well, I think you people have brought it up too.
Okay, but we're not going to talk about that
Finally,
right now. We're
this
going to talk
surface-
about signage.
We're going to defer the use of the fields to the end, and we'll
Right.
talk about signage now.
All right. Let me see if this works. I'm not sure if I can get it to work.
Do you know how to share your screen? It's
It's the
there you go.
green button. Yeah, looks
you
like
go.
it's working.
You see it?
Oh,
Yes.
there's your picture.
There I am. So these are pictures. So this is one of the signs, basically. I don't know if you can see this one at
Yes,
all,
we
but
can.
it's kind of hard to
Put
read.
glasses on.
But they were pretty detailed about what the, stuff. I mean, like questions and concerns, using the courts when you have to get out, badges if you have to do it, the hours, during daylight hours.
Mhm.
So it's pretty detailed as far as what's going on there. So I mean, it's just it's nothing really,
Honestly, if I came to a tennis court, I wouldn't read that whole sign.
I don't think a lot of, well, especially it doesn't look very
Too many
good either.
words.
It's too many words. There's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, a
too,
lot
so.
of instruction.
Right. So, but basically, and again, the other thing that I said that there were some, I'm having a little trouble navigating here. I'm so used to Microsoft Teams. I'm not.
Yeah, me too. I was trying to blur my background. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. And this is pretty much here. If you look over here on the corner here,
Is that the COVID?
that's the COVID thing, the welcome back about distances. And then of course they had different, and I don't know if we can do this because the entrances are so close.
Different entrances and
yeah,
exits.
Both the Newman Elementary and the high school had different entrances. So it's something, that I don't think we could do anything about at the high school. But
that's an interesting idea, no, because there are doors, entrances on both sides of the courts.
Sure.
So you can enter one way and exit the other way. I mean,
Right.
that's what they're doing at some of the private clubs.
Yeah. And I don't know if, again, there were rules about singles play, only because of, distances, there's no doubles play or anything like that. But all the other signs that, like I say, that I put together or that I took were pretty much, nothing that I'm sorry. Let me see if I get one more here.
So I have a question about mask wearing. What is recreation enforcing for? I mean, we did not wear masks last summer on those tennis courts, and I didn't see.
That might have been
wearing-
before. I'm trying to think. When did the governor have because they came out with you have to wear masks even outside at some point. That wasn't the initial.
Mhm. It was in
Anyone
December.
remember?
December is when we had to put masks on indoors playing
too late.
tennis.
Yeah, so it's too late for that.
Oh, I mean outdoors though. At one point you could walk outdoors without a mask as long as you could socially distance, and then it was you have to have the mask even if you can socially distance outdoors. Trying to remember when that.
For the tennis programs that we're currently running,
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
they're wearing masks.
They're wearing masks. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we may want to come up with some COVID signage. Maybe. I don't know,
and then-
temporary.
But take a look at this. This is a sign, at Claxton Field. There's nothing, keep it litter free. That was it. Nothing. No other restrictions. Anybody can go out there. So.
Yeah.
Well,
that's pretty much
the
it.
leash dog is really good because most fields in Westwood don't have that signage.
I would
that's
agree to
correct.
that.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before. I thought we were going to add that. No?
Yeah, no, Dottie Power said that we can't mandate people to put their dogs on leashes.
Isn't there a leash law?
Yeah.
There is a leash law.
Are parks an exception to that? How come we can't mandate someone
Yeah.
to leash their dog on a public field?
I would think you could.
Rich, would you
you
mind
can.
checking? Because
I
I
agree
think that
with
would be
you.
a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We'll check.
We-
Yep.
We can't prohibit them from bringing the dog on the field, but we can require the dog to be leashed.
Right.
Well, let's
So
let's
on the
require.
turf field, the no dogs are not allowed because
Right.
of the
That's
turf.
right.
Right,
Yeah.
but the grass is different.
And
But
if
yeah,
you- if you
but they
look at
should be on a
Play High-
leash.
If you
But
look
when
at Play
I
High,
did soccer, we had issues with other teams. The parents were horrified that we were making them leave with their pets.
if you
Yeah.
look at Play High, the sign as you enter Play High from the street does prohibit pets on the field.
Yes, it
It's
does.
turf,
Play high.
'cause it's turf,
does.
yeah.
And it's fenced, but multi-purpose does not have that
No,
kind
it
of
doesn't.
signage.
Oh, it
No.
should, because it's a turf
Good.
field. You don't want pets on a turf field,
Yeah.
do you?
Well, the pee and the poo doesn't go anywhere. It stays right above the ground. 'cause
That's
it's all
why you
sealed
don't
off.
want them on the
Yeah.
turf field.
And so I'm just this is just another example, and I'll stop sharing in a couple of minutes about.
No, that's
But
good.
this is another sign about it's not sanitized, so it just gives
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of protects us as far as whether we still want to do that or not. Just something to think about.
I think that's a great idea.
And then
And masks should be worn, should be on
yeah,
there too.
right. Boy,
Paul,
lads
will you
gatherings.
send me these so I can add to the minutes?
Sure.
Sheila, I have them.
Yeah.
Oh,
do you want
perfect.
to give
Okay,
it to
so
him?
you'll
Okay,
add them.
perfect.
Okay.
Yes, we can
Yeah,
add them.
Perfect. All right.
Can
great.
can
excellent.
we do any type of, can Rich look into getting these type of signages on the fields or some type of wording about the COVID and the pets?
Yes, yes. So there's, from what I understand, there's a couple of other things that we have to do for the fields. The courts are very simple. We've put them up in the past, and we can put them up again if they've come down, not a problem. I would just need to look into what the rules are around posting signage at the fields, especially the school fields. I would want to check with Ken Aries and just make sure that they're good with it.
So
Okay, and where's that, the sign that's up now, where's that from, Paul?
this is at the Newman Elementary School. It's over off of
Well,
off
I know where it
Central
is.
Ave. Yeah.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Yeah.
All right.
So I have a quick question about the Needham. So the high school is the main tennis complex, correct?
No, there's multiple tennis.
No, they got a couple of chances. There's one.
Oh,
at the
no,
New-
no, but
there's
how many
four-
courts at the high school?
I think there's 4.
That's it?
And then there's I think 6. I'm going to say 6 at the Newman.
Yeah.
So there's enough tennis courts for people that don't have badges in the town.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't see the badge sign at the Newman, but I did see it at the high school. So I don't know. I guess Newman, there's not a lot of at the high school. It's a heavy populated area of town. There's a lot of houses. They're all very close together. So there's it's a populated area at the high school.
Are
So
they
that I
lighted
can see with
courts at the high school?
You know what? I didn't even look. I was trouncing through, a foot and a
Yeah,
half of
it's
snow.
no problem.
I completely forgot. So.
In your sneakers or
Yeah,
something,
no,
probably.
I brought my boots.
Okay, so we have a lot to get through still on the agenda. Do we want to move on to netting around the baseball fields? And what else do we have to talk about with respect to that? We thought it was an okay idea. I think, Rich, you were going to talk to some.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to
So-
jump off? Okay, bye, Joyce.
Bye, Joyce.
Bye.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the last meeting, I said that I would talk to Chris about it, get his sense, and then, which I did, and he said, why don't you go ahead and look into it, see what it would require to do, see how much it would cost, etc.
Oh, great. Okay.
So what I have done is I reached out to the athletic director at Severian Brothers, because we had talked about that they had recently put up that netting along, what is it?
Clappertree Street.
Was it Clappertree Street? Yeah.
Yeah, Clappertree.
So I've been corresponding with him and am scheduled to go meet with him next week to sort of tour what he's done and whatnot and what they went through. I've also reached out to the company that they employed to put up the netting. I've reached out to them. I've not heard back yet. And we'll reach out again in a few days if I don't, but I called and got a voicemail, so I left a message. So I started work on getting some more information on what it would entail. Of course, what it would require financially is going to be very important here. And I'm also gonna visit Zavarian Brothers and just, tour their facility, see what they have done. And while I do that, I will try to get a sense from them as to how effective it is. Because again, if this isn't effective, we can spend all the money in the world. And if it doesn't do a good job, and I heard Bob saying earlier tonight, perhaps before the meeting even started, that the nets tend to not be fully effective. So
Well, I didn't say it tonight. I said it in an earlier meeting.
You were saying something tonight.
Yeah, not tonight. I didn't talk about. This is the
okay,
first time.
whatever. So the point is, I'm going to try to get his input into an experience as to how effective his netting has been.
Okay.
And has
So-
there been a complaint?
More to come on.
Has there been a complaint about the balls? I know we talked about that before. We're doing the netting because we need to do the netting. Someone's complained that balls are going at foul balls are going into courts or some other onto cars.
Did
Is
you
it
bring
just
it
at
up,
the high
Paul?
school?
I did, yes.
Mhm.
I brought it up. Yep, I did. Just only for two reasons. One, I just happened to be at a game where there were some foul balls going into the tennis courts, and I happened to be at the game where my wife got hit with a foul ball on the side of the
Your
face.
wife got hit with a foul ball.
But
At the
that
high
was
school.
at Thurston?
It was at Thurston, yeah.
Yeah, Thurston to me seems dangerous, but I didn't.
And so are we looking into the Thurston as well as the high school, or just the high school?
Well, the scope is yet to be defined, right? Right now, I want to try to get a sense of
how much,
what type of, cost are we looking at for our field to net it, right?
Okay.
And then it's an order of magnitude as to how much it's going to cost, right? So.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, Rich, we started out with this being a big issue. Then Elizabeth said she's never seen a ball go into the tennis courts. And
Never. I've never.
So all the time.
I played a lot there once.
Balls do,
last
okay,
summer.
balls do go in there, okay?
Mhm.
Make no mistake about it. Balls go in there occasionally.
Mhm.
It's a middle school. So I don't understand. I think the school department should be responsible. We don't own those fields. We don't manage those fields. I think a letter has to be written to the school department saying that, the issue's been raised and do you want to take care of it? I just struggle with some other things we should be doing as opposed to, being the keepers of the fields. We don't keep those fields. We don't even use the high school field.
Well, you use
The rec department. What?
Well, you run your baseball program in the summer there.
No, I don't. I did it for COVID.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
so occasionally Rich goes over there. Rich's programs go over there and the high school field and the softball field for kickball. But, I kind of struggle where this comes into the rec department domain.
You think a letter?
We got to get the summer program plan. We have to get the Westwood Day done. We got to get brochures out on a timely basis. We have to get registrations done with 5 people in the office, 4 people now.
Little League runs a program. Would Little League be involved, or no, not Little League? Westwood Baseball for
Westwood. Yeah, I've spoken to Gary Cappuccino. Maybe we should have him come into a meeting and see what he runs the middle school programs and the high school. And so maybe he should come in as a user.
Yeah.
Causer of these foul balls, and let's hear what he has to say.
I do agree that the high school should be part of this because.
Yeah, we shouldn't be running with this. It should be a collaborative effort.
Yeah, collaborative.
I agree.
Mitch?
I I agree with both Bob and Elizabeth. I think it should be a cooperative effort here. I mean, I'm not downplaying. We think we need nets. Frankly, I've said this before, that the parking lot near Thurston is known as, you don't park your car near there because balls go there. Only out of town people do. And you're right. It's being used by both the schools and the Westwood baseball with Gary and that crew. So why shouldn't the schools be involved here? Because it's a legitimate issue to deal with. We need some, the nettings or not nettings. I don't want to put it all on you, Rich. You're a good man, and you're doing, I think, you find out what Zavarian is doing, and that's great because they have these huge nets. I've seen them, and they seem they have the money, and it seems to be, I don't know how effective it is, but why isn't the school department involved in this as well? I agree with Bob.
So would you suggest, like, we, Rich finds out if he can what Zavarian paid, and we write a letter to the school department and say, this has come to our attention from us?
This might be better.
DPW should be involved too.
Let me just finish, Bob. This might be an internal Westwood thing, but department head to department head, Rich to Ken Aries, and get people involved and say, okay, let's get here.
And DPW, I think Bob makes sense.
DPW maintains those fields.
Yep.
And,
as well.
And they should have some involvement.
So then our recommendation is we look into it, and then we ask Rich to talk to the other department heads, because we don't feel like this is a recreation thing, but we think it's a safety issue that
should be reviewed.
Right. So just so you know, I have had a, I guess you could say, a preliminary discussion with Matt Gillis, who's the athletic director. It was, and he was all for the project. Of course, we didn't discuss who was going to pay for it, but
or do the work.
Right, but we did. I was trying to understand from him if any exploration has ever been done, any research has ever been done, etc. If he had any thoughts one way or the other, if it was a good idea or not, and like I said the last meeting, no, he has done no research in the past, but he thought it was a great idea. Again, that's very initial, but
he thinks it's a great idea because he's concerned for safety or some other reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. His
So,
concern was
so
more
Rich,
from the
the reason
softball
that
field.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
I was just going to say his concern was more for the softball field because it's higher up than the tennis courts, and but I don't know if softball's going there too, but general consensus was he thought it was a decent idea to explore.
Yeah. So the DPW would have to be involved in anything like this because they maintain those fields. And Rich, I think you do a great job, but I don't think you should be involved in contracting and overseeing the installation.
So we're not
with everything else going on.
So maybe I'm misunderstanding, but the only thing that Rich is going to be doing now is doing some discovery. He's not.
That's
Rich
right.
is
I
not
agree.
taking any
But I'm
action.
just saying down the road.
Yeah, we're not even there yet. I think we should just wait. If you want to continue to do your discovery, that would be great.
Yeah.
And if not, then you don't. I mean, it's.
Yeah, if you guys want me to do that, I'm happy to continue. Like I said, I've got it scheduled. I've got, a good portion of the effort has already been made. It's just probably one more meeting and one discussion with a contractor just to get a ballpark sense, I guess no pun intended, a ballpark sense of cost. And then we can reconvene and decide what to do.
Okay. Well, take Mitch and Bob's thoughts or everybody else's thoughts and say we get the cost and say, okay, Todd, and okay, Matt,
here it is.
This is the cost. We can't foot all of this. Where are your funds? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, what's the budget?
And who's going to do that? And then just one last thing about like the tennis courts, the foul balls into the tennis courts. Maybe we're looking at. I just want to think outside the box, and and I won't take up too much more of the time on this topic. But one of the things that I was thinking about, maybe it might be easier to put the net, extend it at the tennis court.
Right.
As opposed to putting it at the baseball field. So
it'd be smaller.
So it just would, it would.
So so when people play tennis, they hit lobs. So it would have to not interfere with tennis.
No,
play.
it would go straight.
No,
it would go
straight up.
It would go straight up on the corners. That's it. Or, it doesn't, maybe it doesn't even have to go all the way to from corner to corner. It just go from, just like 20 feet in and 20 feet around the corner or something. I don't know. The guys, Rich, the guys that you're going to be talking with, they'll know. This is what they do.
I would hope so.
Right. So.
I looked at their website. They've got some experience. So.
Great.
Yeah, but again, I never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
Okay.
So he's gonna do discovery and come back.
Yep.
Yeah. So the next agenda item is the 2020 town report. And Rich was nice enough to write up a blurb that I could just read and say it looks really good for our report. But I did want, and I know we talked like just at the last minute, Rich, so you haven't had time to do that, but I was thinking that we could add a few more blurbs about some of the one-off programs, the mask making, the snowshoeing, the snowman making, or whatever I saw last week on Facebook, like some of those creative and fun things that Kelly and Joe have been running as well. I know you put a few in there, and I don't want to overdo it, but I thought, maybe add a couple more.
Right, because I did add a bullet, and if there's a couple and that you would like to see in there, please, if you wouldn't mind shooting me an email, I'm happy to drop them in.
Okay. And this report starts for everybody's benefit. I'm just going to the page on it is the page 6 on the agenda, and it's the 2020 accomplishments that pretty much the rest of it is cut and paste from previous years.
So, Anne, if I may just add to what you just said. So what I included this in this report so that everybody could get a sense. This is what I went through the monthly reports that we do each month that, and we talk about in these meetings. And I pulled out what I believed were the most significant things and added them here. To the extent that any of you feel like something in here should be added, I just wanted to include it in here. We don't need to go through this whole thing right now, but if there's something that you want me to add now, or if you want to shoot myself and Ann a note.
Oh, you did add. Sorry, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I added it. I didn't re-email it to you, but I did include it in the package, right?
Yep.
And so what I would like to do is have a final draft for next meeting that you all approve, because it's due to the town no later than April 2nd. So the next meeting in March, we need to approve this so I can turn it in.
So yeah.
Does that make sense?
So send comments to me and you, Rich, and we'll
yes,
get them
please.
Incorporated.
If everybody could do that over the next week or so, week or two, and then we'll finalize the draft. Ann and I will work to finalize it before the next meeting. And then we'll just approve it to be turned in before April 2nd. Does that make sense? Any questions or immediate comment on that? No? Okay.
It was nice to see the list of things that were accomplished this year. I would imagine if you compare it to some other towns, it was probably a lot longer. So Good job.
The only comment I had is on the very first bullet about operated summer camp. I think there should be something in there. Although we had COVID restrictions, we were still able to, because certainly the numbers are down. So I would just say, I just put some language in there that says, although we were restricted in what we could offer and the timing, we were still able to have 765 participants. We talking about the same thing?
Yep.
Yep.
So just highlighting that 765 is fewer than we've seen in the past, but
no, don't say it's fewer. Just say even though. I would just say.
Even with COVID restrictions in place, we were able to operate.
We were still able to have 1,295 participants in our camp programs this summer.
Okay.
So
some fluff around that. Say
I'm happy to do that, Bob. The one thing I would say that if you read the paragraph above that, it does talk a lot about a lot of the challenges that we face due to COVID.
Yeah, I'm just reinforcing it there. That's all. It's just
absolutely. Yep, you can do that.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Sometimes people jump the bullets like me.
Yep. Well, I'm guilty of that as well. Okay. So yeah, any comments other than Bob's comment? Well, you can send it via email, and then I should turn it over to you, Rich, for the rest of the staff.
Sure thing.
Or director report.
So the next thing on the agenda I put on here, just as an update, you may have seen this via social media or whatever, but we have completed our spring and summer brochure. It was issued a little bit later this year than in years past, but that was strictly due to the fact that we didn't know what our space was going to be until the end of January. So in fact, this whole thing was put together in less than 3 weeks, which I think is outstanding when you consider that aspect of it. And it was delivered to the printer last Tuesday, I believe, and it should be in the post office by March 1st. It is currently online. If you go to our website, you'll be able to see the full brochure electronically. Okay. So
Where do you find that online? Because
westwoodrec.com, Bob.
Yeah, I'll go on there right now. Westwood Rec.
Yep. And then if you page down to, there's like green boxes and one of them says brochure. It kind of looks like a paper with lines on it.
Oh, I might be in the wrong. I might go in the wrong screen because.
Yeah, it should be right on the splash page, Bob.
What?
Right on the splash page. You know, the page when you go to westwoodrec.com. If the page that opens
Okay,
up.
I'm in the wrong one. I'm on the registration page.
Okay, no, you want to go to westwoodrec.com.
Okay, why wouldn't it be on the registration page?
It
Is
is.
my question. Why wouldn't we have a banner on the registration page? 'Cause
So
that's what
are you on Activity Reg or westwoodrec.com?
I'm on, hold on.
Is that Activity Reg?
Westwoodrec.com.
Ellie, do you have the ability to share your screen and you could show?
Yeah, I definitely can try. I'll pull it up real quick.
Okay, just tell me where. I'm on this page. Where is it? Oh, there it is with the little girl in the pink.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, the little girl with the pink shirt, right? And the mask on.
Okay.
Actually, Kelly, if you can or I can even try. Can you share it? Because I'd love you to see the cover. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'll pull it up real quick.
Okay, so all I'm saying is that when you look at that, and I guess I'm numb, but why wouldn't we, that's the cover of the brochure, but why wouldn't we have a banner above that or something that says, you know,
Click
just
on it, Bob.
highlight the brochure?
Because
Because
on the
look,
brochure and it brings you to the whole thing. Click on the picture.
no, when you're on the website, right? When you're on the website, oh, there it says, no, maybe that, see the brochure there? Maybe that should be really bold.
For old eyes?
Yeah, see where it says brochure? I think that should be like a gold banner or a
All right, I have to go look at this now.
It's kind of like, it's pretty important. I think that should be like a big banner, like we have under user login, about us, create new.
Kelly, are you having any luck sharing your screen?
Oh yeah, I can do it right now.
Because we have all these banners on there that jump at you. But that one, it's like it's not a banner and it's much smaller print. All I'm saying is we could change that to make that bolder. Then you could see it pop more, that's all.
Hold on, we're going to see it for ourselves.
Because I'm not the only one who has trouble seeing this, by the way.
I don't know.
I'm getting.
Our
I don't
website.
think I can.
Do you guys do it in-house?
Yeah, we do. So hold on.
So when you use your phones,
yeah,
right? Then you go like here, and it says right there the brochure.
Oh, it looks great on your phone. Nice job.
Oh, now I went off to the internet. Hold on, leave your phone up. I want to see it.
Can you see my screen now?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah,
That's great.
Okay, so this is.
Oh, look at her. She's so cute.
Isn't that
Oh,
awesome?
I want to sign my kids up right now.
Ah,
All right, and so so then the rest of the brochure, but we love this cover. We think it just sends the right message about COVID, but everything's thumbs up.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
A lot of energy
Rich,
in that, girl.
Rich, do you understand my issue?
Yeah, so I do, and I'm
The
not.
brochure, the fact that it's a brochure is tiny. So if
You
you
can,
could,
you can see it. So you're used to, Bob, you're used to seeing big banners, but the young kids just see the little bullet and they just go with it.
Exactly, and
Right,
it's.
so-
what young kids?
It's just
These are
like
kids-
that.
These are
Oh.
parents who complain to me
That
about.
seems pretty big to me.
Yeah,
No?
so this is where it is, right here.
Somebody
That's
who's in
clear even for an
marketing
old
did
person
a
like
lot of-
me.
Yeah,
they
so
do a
that
lot of marketing. This is beautiful. This is
Yeah,
beautiful
you
design.
you see to the left, if you're looking at the page, you
Yeah.
see how you've got user login, a big, or
Where's user
Uh,
login?
look at your screen, Bob. You look at the share on the screen. This is where you can go to see the brochure.
That
It's very-
seems pretty big.
It's pretty pretty legible.
It's pretty prominent, I think.
It looks great.
hell out of here.
So
No, you don't think that's prominent?
I
What,
think
where it says brochure? What about create new account, about us, user login? They're all prominent.
Where's that?
Activities. All I'm saying is I'm just
he's
making.
on activity, Reg. He's on the registration page.
Yeah, on the
Oh.
registration page.
Yeah, you
That's
need to
what
come
we're
back out.
looking
You're
at.
too far in.
You went in too far. It's even it's in your face before that.
So
People go to the registration page to register. And
so but then see right here is the brochure as well. And you
Yeah.
just click on it, and then you go there as well. You
no,
go
I
there as well.
understand. I'm just saying,
So
if you look at if you look at the registration page,
yeah,
okay? There's all kinds of banners and it's prominent, but the brochure is not prominent.
Right.
That's all.
okay.
Maybe I'm
I-
crazy. I mean, it's
Well,
just,
I'm not disagreeing with what you're
I've
saying.
had
It's not-
parents complain, people are complaining to me, calling me this week, the last week, you doing this, are you doing that? And Kelly tells me, Bob, the brochure is right on the registration page. And I said, well, how come everybody's missing it?
Well, they shouldn't be missing it. I mean, how old are these parents? You got to be younger than me.
Well,
They're
Okay.
One's a
okay.
one's a doctor.
It's,
well,
That
then
doesn't
they're
mean
too
anything.
smart.
so all right, guys, let's bring it back.
All right.
So
Yes.
right now that's the architecture of the website. Whether or not it can be changed, I can't say definitively one way or the other. But point taken, Bob. It's not as bold as some of the other things.
Yeah, and it's
Perhaps
very
okay.
important.
Bob, let me finish, please.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look and see if something can be done. I'm not able to answer that question right now. But if there's something that we can done to make that more prominent, we will do it.
In the
Okay.
future, Rich, doesn't have to be now, in the future.
I understand that.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Well,
but
wait a
then
second.
we'll
Shouldn't
look
we
at it.
all agree that we need to change I mean, I think.
I think it looks fine.
Can we have a vote
Yeah.
before we have to go change and all that stuff?
We're not changing anything, we're just discussing it,
Okay, whatever.
okay?
All right.
Well, does anyone else think that the brochure is not prominent?
No,
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Great
the
marketing.
only other highlights about we've got so the brochure should be at the mailbox or at the post office on the 1st of March, which means the residents will receive it by Wednesday the 3rd at the latest. So we've set up spring registration for Friday the 5th. And of course, we've got summer registration Saturday the 13th. Okay, and that way everybody will have the brochure in their hands so that it's fair for everybody when they go to register. Okay.
Rich, did you change, you have the same printer, we've had some problems in the past, right?
It's the same printer.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So, all right. If there's no more discussion about the brochure, let me go to events. We've talked a little bit about March into summer already. The only other thing I'll point out, of course, there's nothing in person. That's we can't do that like we've done in years past with the open house. But one of the things that we used to do during the open house is we'd have certain contractors there, of course, summer staff, senior staff there to answer questions for parents. So what we're going to do is before the 10 o'clock registration, we're going to have like an open Zoom call. So if parents want to call in and ask questions, we can do that. We'll have a panel and we'll take questions and whatnot as some type of a proxy for parents that have questions. Of course, many are already calling with questions and will continue to do so beforehand, but just to try to replicate some sense of what we traditionally did during March into summer, we're going to have that panel in advance. Okay. And I've already talked about Westwood Day with the date. And then moving on to facilities, I'll give you an update on where we are with the pool HVAC. So we have tomorrow a team of the contractors and the manufacturer coming to do what they're calling phase 2 of the plan to help the system breathe better so it can exhale better, if you will. And we actually brought in a separate engineer to look at the recommendations and make sure that these recommendations are sound. They agreed with the strategy, so we're feeling confident that the next step will help the situation. And we'll know more because they'll bring in what's called a balancer after that, and we'll have a better sense of where we stand. But we're hoping that that will solve our problems. And if not, we have phase 3, which is during the exploration of what's causing this problem. They did find with cameras, like what are those like optic cameras, that in the ceiling somewhere there is a duct that has been partially collapsed, which could be causing the problem, which will need to be fixed if this other issue does not resolve it. So so that's where we are with that. So we're making some good headway.
The duct issue, if that turns out to be relevant, nothing we're doing with the HVAC will have to be redone if we have to fix the duct issue.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, they're sort of independent from each other.
Okay. Yeah, that's a better way of saying it.
Yeah. So so yeah, and then I included here in the package just like we did last year, just the notes from DPW about the plan to maintain the fields and what have you. So that is in your package as well.
So now the last, yeah, sorry, questions.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if anybody has any questions about that, there's really nothing to talk about unless you have questions. It's, it's pretty much what their plan is. It's similar to years past.
Hey, Rich, I have a question about the pool. You said we brought in another engineer. Who's we?
The rec department?
Yep.
No. I'm asking, who brought in the other engineer to look at the problems at the HVAC?
We did.
Who's we?
The Recreation Department and DPW.
Okay, DPW. Okay, good.
Yep.
Because it's in your letter, and it's a big accomplishment, separate bullet. So I think we want to get that straightened out before your letter goes out.
Yep. Well, it's Bob.
This is the second
HVAC
phase.
is in. It's operational. It's just not operating optimally. So it's
right.
These are tweaking. It's a break-in period almost. We've talked to other towns when they install their HVACs, and again, they've got to dial it in, and that's what's happening now. It's a little bit more involved than that, but we're dialing it in.
Okay, thank you.
So now, Bob, you had brought up an item that I said we would defer to number 6 on the agenda. Did you want to talk about the use of the fields, unauthorized use? Or?
No, not tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there is something specific, you can always add it to the agenda. I know it is late.
This
okay,
is like
next
the old days where we're going to almost till 9 o'clock.
I know. Next meeting, how do people feel about March 22nd? Be spring by then.
March 22nd.
That's Monday.
Yeah.
It's fine for me. All right. So,
but they're all fine for me.
Does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Before you do, I just have a quick question. Is it usually the 3rd Monday of the month?
That's not the 3rd Monday?
No, it's the 4th.
Oh, so the 1st is a Monday.
Yeah.
1st, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could do either one. I mean, I'm fine with either one.
Do the Ides of March. You know, I mean, that's right after March into summer. Do we want to do it that day?
Well, you'd only have 3 weeks between meetings. If you
Yeah,
did-
so maybe we do. Yeah, well, you know what? There'll be the April holiday. I don't know when the holiday is. It's not.
It's the 19th to the 23rd.
So maybe we do it the 15th for that reason, because then we'll have to do it a week earlier, probably in April.
Yeah, the 12th. That's correct.
What do you think, Rich? Move it to the 15th?
I'm open to whichever date works best for you all. Yeah.
It's fine with me.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't
All
matter.
right, March 15th. So Bob gave a motion to adjourn. Does anyone want to second it?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I remember this time. Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you all. We will see you again on the 15th, and don't forget to provide any feedback on the admission, which actually you said needs to be submitted by Friday the 19th, so it's good to have the meeting before then. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.